While I was preparing to propose to her, my wife cheated on me with the plumber. I should probably start at the beginning, where things still made sense. After 5 years with Grace, I was ready to take the next step. She was everything to me, patient, beautiful, fiercely intelligent, and somehow, mine. I was certain that nothing could ever pull us apart. But then, life has a way of surprising you. It all started that Tuesday morning. I just finished my third cup of coffee, still buzzing with excitement as I finalized my plans to propose. I'd reserved a table at her favorite restaurant, and the engagement ring I'd been saving up for was stashed away in my drawer. But just as I was mentally rehearsing my lines, Grace walked into the room. "Morning, love," she said, stretching her arms in a way that made my heart skip a beat. Her eyes twinkled, and she shot me one of those radiant smiles that I had fallen for all those years ago. "Morning," I replied, trying to keep my own excitement in check. "What are your plans today?" She shrugged, plopping down on the couch with her phone in hand. "Well, remember that leak in the bathroom? The plumber's supposed to come around noon. I figured I'd work from home so I can be here for it." I nodded, relieved. I wanted to use the day to finalize a few last-minute details for the proposal, so I figured I'd head to a quiet cafe downtown. "All right, sounds good. I'll be out for a bit, but I'll be back for dinner." Grace raised an eyebrow, her lips curving into a mischievous grin. "What are you up to that's so secretive, huh?" My cheeks flushed, but I managed to keep my cool. "Oh, just a few errands," I said casually, grabbing my keys. "Don't worry about it." She laughed. "All right, mystery man." Fast forward to that afternoon, around 3 p.m. I just finished picking out a few flowers from a florist nearby when my phone buzzed. I assumed it was Grace checking in on me, but it was actually my neighbor, Darren. "Hey, man," he began, his voice hushed. Are you home?" "No, why?" I asked, a little confused. Darren rarely ever called me during the day. "Ah, well." He hesitated, as if debating whether or not to tell me what was on his mind. "There's something weird going on. The plumber arrived, and your wife let him in, but, I don't think he's fixing any pipes, if you catch my drift." I froze, gripping my phone tightly. "What are you saying, Darren?" "Listen, man, I wasn't trying to snoop, but their voices got kinda loud. I think you should. Come see for yourself." I drove back home faster than I'd ever driven before, my mind swirling with a mix of disbelief, anger, and dread. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Darren peeking out from his window, his expression full of concern. I gave him a nod, silently thanking him, and took a deep breath before heading up to my apartment. The moment I opened the door, I heard laughter from the bathroom. I crept closer, heart pounding in my chest. I didn't want to believe it, but there it was, Grace's voice, laughing softly with a man whose voice I didn't recognize. "Paul, stop it," she whispered, giggling. "Come on, babe, you know you love it," came the low, gravelly response. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to keep calm. Taking a deep breath, I rapped on the bathroom door, trying to keep my tone as steady as possible. "Grace? Everything all right in there?" There was a pause. Then, I heard shuffling, whispers, and the clink of what sounded like tools hastily being shoved into a "Yeah, honey." Grace's voice came out, almost too cheerful. Just finishing up in here. The plumber was just, fixing the leak." The door opened, and there stood Grace, looking a bit flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. Behind her, the plumber, a tall, burly guy with a 5 o'clock shadow, offered me a sheepish smile. "Hey, I'm Paul," he stammered, reaching out a hand. I stared at it, barely able to keep my composure. "Paul," I repeated, not bothering to shake his hand. "Everything okay in here?" He cleared his throat, glancing at Grace before grabbing his toolbox. "Why yeah, all good. Just a simple fix, really." He mumbled something about being done for the day and hurried out, practically sprinting down the hallway. I watched him leave, my mind racing. As soon as he was gone, I turned to Grace. "Want to tell me what that was all about?" I asked, crossing my arms. She blinked, visibly nervous. "What are you talking about?" "You and the plumber," I said, my voice a bit sharper than I intended. "Something's going on, Grace. I'm not stupid." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of guilt before she quickly masked it. "Alex, don't be ridiculous," she said, forcing a laugh. "There's nothing going on. He was just here to fix the leak, and we got to talking, that's all." "Talking," I repeated, incredulous. It didn't sound like just talking. She sighed, rubbing her temples. "All right, fine. We might have flirted a little. But it was nothing serious, Alex. You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I echoed, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Grace, I was planning to propose to you." Her eyes widened in shock, and for a split second, I saw something that looked like regret. But then, just as quickly, she brushed it off. "You were going to propose to me?" she asked, her voice tinged with surprise. "Alex, I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," I snapped, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "Because you were too busy flirting with the plumber." She crossed her arms defensively. "Well, maybe if you'd shown me some attention lately, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere." My jaw dropped. "So this is my fault now?" Her expression softened a little, and she looked down, biting her lip. "I didn't mean it like that, Alex. It's just, I don't know. Things have felt off lately. You're always so busy, and I guess I felt a little neglected." I shook my head, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. "I was busy planning our future, Grace. I was trying to make sure everything was perfect for you." She looked away, clearly struggling to find the right words. Maybe we both just got too comfortable. I don't know." There was a long silence, the weight of everything we hadn't said hanging heavy between us. Finally, I took a deep breath, letting out the frustration that had been building up all day. "Grace," I began, my voice barely above a whisper. "I love you. I thought we had something special. But if you don't feel the same way, if you're not happy, then maybe we need to reconsider where this is going." She looked up at me, her eyes glistening with tears. "Alex, I don't want to lose you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "Then prove it," I replied, my voice firm. "If we're going to make this work, things have to change. No more lies. No more flirting with random plumbers or anyone else." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I promise, Alex. I'll do whatever it takes." I wanted to believe her, but a part of me felt like something had shifted, like a door had been opened that we couldn't quite close. Still, as I looked into her tear-streaked face, I knew I wasn't ready to walk away, not yet, anyway. In the days that followed, we tried to put it behind us. Grace promised me a fresh start, vowing that she would put in the work to rebuild the trust she'd broken. At first, I wanted to believe her. Every day felt like an effort in forgiveness, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal gnawing at me. A week later, I came home late from work, exhausted from the endless deadlines and meetings that had filled my day. The house was quiet, too quiet, but I shrugged it off. Grace's car was in the driveway, so I figured she'd just fallen asleep early. I loosened my tie, tossing my jacket over the back of a chair, and headed for the kitchen to grab a quick snack before bed. That's when I saw it, a receipt lying on the counter, folded in half. Normally, I wouldn't even have noticed something like that, but the words Kings and Motel printed at the top caught my attention. My stomach sank. My first instinct was to tell myself that it was just a mistake, a misinterpretation. Maybe she'd picked it up by accident or found it on the ground. But as I unfolded it, I noticed the date, yesterday. The room had been paid for in cash, and I could see her signature, clear as day, scrawled at the bottom. I stood there for a moment, just staring at it, trying to make sense of it all. Then, footsteps approached from the hallway, and Grace appeared, rubbing her eyes. "Alex?" she murmured, her voice groggy. "You're back late. Everything okay?" I held up the receipt, my hand trembling. "What's this?" Her face went pale. She blinked, then quickly tried to recover, forcing a shaky smile. "Oh, that's nothing. I must have picked it up by accident. You know how sometimes things get mixed up in your purse." "Grace," I said slowly, my voice barely above a whisper, "please, don't lie to me." She glanced away, her lips pressed into a thin line. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, she let out a heavy sigh, running a hand through her hair. "All right," she said, her voice barely audible. "I went out with some friends from work. We just needed to blow off some steam, that's all." "At a motel?" I could feel the frustration building inside me, threatening to spill over. "Grace, what's really going on?" She swallowed hard, avoiding my gaze. "It's not what you think, Alex. I just needed a break." "A break from what?" I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. From me? From us? Because if that's the case, you need to be honest with me. She hesitated, as though grappling with her words. Alex, I know I hurt you. And I'm trying. I'm really trying to fix things. But sometimes I just feel trapped. The word trapped stung like a slap to the face. I took a step back, struggling to breathe. Trapped? I echoed, my voice laced with disbelief. You're the one who kept insisting we move in together, that we build a life together. I was ready to give you everything. And now you're telling me you feel trapped? Her eyes filled with tears, but this time, they didn't move me. I was too angry, too hurt. I don't know what's wrong with me, she whispered. I've tried to understand it myself, but I just keep making mistakes. Mistakes. That word lingered in the air between us, heavier than any silence could ever be. Is that all this is to you, Grace? I asked, my voice hollow. Just one big mistake? No, she said quickly, reaching out to touch my arm, but I pulled away. No, Alex, I love you. I do. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes, it's like I need something else, something I can't even put into words. I felt the walls closing in around me, suffocating me. This was more than a broken trust, this was a broken person standing in front of me, someone I barely recognized anymore. I'd spent years with this woman, built my life around her, and now it was all unraveling. Maybe we need to take a break, I muttered, hardly believing the words coming out of my own mouth. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw real panic there. Alex, no. Don't say that. I know I messed up. But I can fix it. I can be better. But can I? I countered. Can I keep living like this, always wondering where you are, or who you're with, or if I'm going to find another receipt, another excuse? She didn't answer. She just stood there, silent, as the weight of my words sank in. I wanted her to fight, to give me some kind of assurance, but she just lowered her head, her shoulders slumping in defeat. Maybe, she said softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. Maybe we both need time to figure things out. I stared at her, a mixture of sadness and anger welling up inside me. Then let's do that, Grace. Let's figure it out separately. Maybe some time apart will help us see things clearly. She nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. I never wanted it to end like this, Alex. I thought we'd grow old together. So did I replied, my voice thick with emotion. But sometimes love isn't enough, is it? She didn't answer, and I didn't expect her to. There was nothing left to say. In the days that followed, I packed my things and moved into a small apartment across town. It was quiet, painfully so, but at least I could hear myself think. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the empty spaces where Grace used to be. One evening, about a month later, I received a text. It was from Grace. Alex, I don't expect you to forgive me. But I just wanted to say thank you for everything. I hope one day you'll find someone who deserves you. I read the message, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. I didn't reply. Instead, I deleted it, letting the past slip away, one message at a time. As the weeks turned into months, I slowly began to heal. I focused on my career, made new friends, and started to rediscover parts of myself that I'd lost in the chaos. There were nights when I still thought of Grace, wondering if things could have turned out differently. But deep down, I knew that some love stories aren't meant to last. One day, as I walked through the park near my apartment, I noticed a couple sitting on a bench, laughing together. They looked so carefree, so genuinely happy, and for a moment, a pang of envy stabbed at me. But then I smiled, realizing that maybe, just maybe, I could find that kind of happiness again. In the end, Grace taught me one of the hardest lessons of my life, that love isn't just about the good moments, but about trust, commitment, and honesty. Without those, love is just a beautiful illusion, a dream that can shatter with the smallest crack. And so, I walked away, leaving the past behind, ready to embrace whatever came next.